Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we discuss the most pressing issues facing our community. And so I am Caleb Alexander, and today I have my brother from another mother, businessman, entrepreneur, and community activist Chris Dawkins with me today. And of course, we have two of our panelists missing. I have my seat buddy missing, Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell. She's out in the community putting together a fantastic event. And of course, we have Professor Fred Williams and his lovely wife, the other Professor Williams, who are out on the road traveling. So we're going to wish them traveling grace, and we're certainly going to miss both of them today. And we also want to give a shout out, of course, to our producers. We have Mr. Carl Booker, and we have Linnell, who's producing the show today. So, of course, we want to give a shout out to them. Today's show is we're going to be discussing the events surrounding the protest, the student protest on the genocide that's going on in Palestine right now. And so we're going to discuss the congressional investigation. We're going to talk a little bit about them hauling the presidents in to testify. We're going to talk about the presidents themselves and about the whether or not they have actually control. And we're going to talk a little bit about what is your First Amendment right and how that applies to this situation. And so, again, I do want to thank you for joining us, and I'm going to turn to my co-host and get his thoughts on the issue. Chris?
Thank you, Caleb. This has really been very interesting time in history to understand what's going on between Jews and Palestinians. Now, their issue has been going on for years, decades, forever. And the thing I think that we need to understand is, where this all fits with us as Americans, where it fits with us in the world. And as I would talk to Professor Williams sometimes and say, it's not going to be long before I think the United States is in this conflict itself. But as it relates to those women from the Ivy League schools who were just interviewed, and none of them really gave the answer that I think that they should have gave. Now, I don't think that they actually should have caved in, which they didn't, but I think they probably should have had some people, professionals with them who were able to, marketing people who could tell them exactly how to answer the question when it was brought to them. Having said that, with them not answering correctly has brought a multitude of wrath onto them. And the ultimate wrath is that they have been asked to either resign or to be fired. I think that's a little harsh, but I think right now, as I was mentioning to you, this is more about power than it's about anything else.
Making them kind of bow down and submit.
Making them bow down and submit. Because we're getting to a point of no return where the Jewish community is asking everyone to be on their side and to participate in this. I don't know if I can call it apartheid, but it's almost similar to an apartheid. You're dealing with I don't know. I've never seen the Palestinians with an air force, with an army, or anything like that to be able to defend themselves. However, you've seen the Israelis who have an air force. They're doing bombing all of the time. And the people who they're bombing, yes, October 7th was a devastation. But the question becomes is what Israel is doing, is it justified for everything that Hamas has done? And I am in no way endorsing what Hamas has done. But at the same time, I am saying that there's a limit to what I think Israel should be doing.
That response. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't, and so when you see that on the news night after night after night, and so you see those the kids at the university protest that what appears to be just an overreaction. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to not feel when you see the children, the rubble and the children being pulled out of the rubble and in the hospital. And so, and I guess it begs the question, like, what are the universities for if you're not going to educate empathetic kids, if you're not going to educate them to be thinkers, you know what I mean? And so we don't want them to just learn by rote. We don't want them to be just regurgitating what the professor tells them. We want independent thinkers. And so, when you have kids that see this thing and then they want to take action and they want to call for peace, is it appropriate to squash that? You know, what kind of kids do we want?
I think it's a microcosm of America. Okay. America has always been a place where all minorities, all different countries could come to this country and feel like this was the land of opportunity. Okay. So we've got that now. And we've got to a point to where we've got all of these nationalities. So you have a lot of Jewish population. You have a lot of Palestinian population. So each of those groups begin to say, hey, look at us, and we deserve to be noticed. So when you look at and you bring it down to the universities and you say, we've got Palestinian students, we've got Israeli students, and each of them want to have their side of the story told. I have no problems or issues with that. The problem begins when you begin to have the Jewish community to use their money and resources to try to skew things over to their side. And I want to bring out this one point. I really felt, it really hit me kind of bad. There was a lady saying, and she was Jewish, and she said, you know, we've supported the gay community, we supported the black community, we supported all these different kinds of different people, and now it's time for you to support us. And to me, what she was saying is that forget about what's being done to Palestine. We unequivocally want your support.
Right.
And to me, that was a little bit harsh to say that, especially when the Jews have been, it's like any other nationality. They haven't been totally all good. And I'm not to say that they have been all bad, but you've got six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. There have been some who've taken advantage of our community. There are others who've marched with us with Martin Luther King. So, you know, there's on both sides. But when you look at humanity and how humanity should be, the United States is in a very difficult situation because they cannot say, we want to support human rights and not necessarily what Israel's doing. That brings up a real serious conflict for the United States.
You know, so I definitely see your point on that. And so yeah, there has been during the civil rights movement there was this synergy. You know what I mean? And so there was this friendship between young Jewish college students who went south or came south to help and participate in those in the movement. And so when I hear that, my point is this: so if your friends can't tell you the truth, then who else can? And so I think out of friendship, we owe it not just as African American or black community, but as the United States. You have to be able to tell your friends the truth about themselves. And so when you see your friends doing wrong, you have to be able to say, hey, you know what? That's not right. It's not good for you. It's not good for the international community. And you're wrong. You have to be able to tell your friends when they're wrong.
Caleb, when my friends got $100 million, I tell them what they want to know. I tell them what they want to hear.
But it does go back though to our just that relationship, and it goes back to what kind of kids that do we want to raise? You know what I mean? What kind of do we want when you see that overreaction, when you see that like you were saying, the Palestinians, they don't have an army, they don't have a navy, they don't have an air force, they don't have artillery, they don't have any of these things. You know what I mean? And so it's an overreaction, and so when you see that kind of overreaction and that kind of devastation, you kind of, you know, there you have to call for peace. And that brings me to another point. The United Nations tried to vote for a ceasefire,
I was going to bring
and
that up.
the U.S.
Right.
vetoed a ceasefire. How can you veto a ceasefire and be against an initiative for peace that's going to stop the violence? And so, go ahead, Chris, and speak on that.
I'm just wondering, you know, I mean, I understand the politics of what's going on. And you really put, not you per se, but this whole situation has put, in my opinion, Biden in a very bad situation. It's a bad situation for the same reasons I brought up earlier. You've got a lot of Palestinians who vote, who are now American citizens who can vote. You've got a lot of Jewish people who supported you financially and will support you with the vote. And now you're coming up on an election year. What does the president actually do? And by him being a first-term president, he cannot piss off the Jewish people, especially, because they'll cut him off TV. So in actuality, you know, when you're at the UN Security Council, I don't know really what you can do. There has to be a solution for all of this, but I don't know what that solution is. I really want peace, and everybody would like to see peace in Africa, okay, or the Middle East, as most folks would say. But I just don't know what you could or should do.
So I guess real quick, we're gonna speak on this before we go to break. Do you think? I mean, there's $100 billion that's trying to be pulled back from the Penn, University of Pennsylvania, and like you mentioned, Biden's in a sticky situation as far as his donors. Do you think that the Jewish population here exercises undue influence?
Of course.
In our society?
Of course. No question about it. Okay. If I had $100 million, man, I'm going to tell you to do some things that you may not want to do. Okay. And you're going to do if you're going to do them, unless your name is Fred Williams.
You know what? I was just going to say that. You know what? When he sees this show, you're in trouble. So, you know what? We're going to go ahead and close out this segment on that end. And so when we come back, I do want to talk about a little bit about Congress's role, and then pulling in those professors. And what are your thoughts on that? And again, I know you mentioned it's a power trip, but I do want to talk about the Congresswoman Stefanik, who's leading the charge on this. And let's talk about a little bit about her and her record, and some of the things she said previously about free speech in the past. And so with that, stay tuned to Contemporary Black Voices. We thank you for joining us today, and we'll be right back.
You got it.